What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. Joining me this week is Justin Davis,
Scoop.
Sam Claiborne.
Hey, do we say scoop?
Yeah, say it. And
Scoop.
very special guest, Tina Amini is joining us for the first appearance on Game Scoop.
First scoop.
And she joins us as our new editorial manager. She comes from Kotaku, more recently Mashable, and she's going to be here in our San Francisco office leading up our games team. So it's awesome to have you here.
Thank you.
We're stoked.
Awesome to be here. Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you don't like the favorite game question, just because it's hard to choose just one.
Absolutely.
So instead, tell us the first game you remember playing.
Ooh. Well, I guess the first one that I remember playing in like a really big, meaningful, impactful way was in a multiplayer sense because I spent a lot of time playing games with my brothers and my cousins. We grew up not being allowed to own consoles ourselves.
Ooh, wow.
So yeah, now I write about video games every day.
Take that, Mom.
Yeah. So we had access to like what our cousins had, and together as a group, we would play a lot of GoldenEye together.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of good like family memories associated with it.
Have you tried to play GoldenEye recently?
It's bad. It's
horrible.
It does
It's
not really
bad.
hold up.
And like the controls, we just moved on from that type of controlled game. It's so weird to play.
I couldn't
At the
believe
time,
it.
it made a lot of sense, but
totally.
yeah, now it's just like, what? How did we live this way?
That's a really vivid. I think this video is live on IGN, but I have a really vivid memory of like 4 years ago where we were doing the top 125 Nintendo games, and I had the completely stupid, in hindsight, idea to do a let's play of each one.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it's impossible to figure out how to like capture an N64, but we worked through all that. And like me and Tim Getty sent some people like, it's gonna be so fun. We're gonna play GoldenEye. And then like I think in real time in that let's play, you can hear us be like, oh boy, I don't know what's going on. This is running at 8 frames per second, and you're moving the reticle around the screen, and it's awful.
Yeah, it's tough to play today. But man, that was definitely a phenomenon back in the day. Did you play Perfect Dark also?
I did, but not as much of
Not
a
as much,
fan.
yeah.
We just happened to play more GoldenEye.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's really good. All right, well, we do have a great show for you this week. We're going to talk about a little bit more about Monster Hunter World. We have updated sales data on that. We're going to talk about platformers. A listener needs some help getting into platformers. But first, Far Cry 5 is imminent. It's out this month, and I was already on board. Big Far Cry fan ever since 3. Played 3, 4, and Primal. I think Primal's a little underappreciated. But now this week they announced Far Cry 5 is going to include something called the Far Cry 5 Arcade, which is its map editor. And I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit that I had no idea Far Cry 3 and 4 had a map editor, even though I played through both those
I was
games.
just talking to John Ryan about this before the show, and he did our preview for the arcade, so he just played some of it, and he was like, well, actually, like this is, I was like, have you seen the editor itself? He's like, not really, but this is what it'll probably look like, and he showed me Far Cry 4's editor, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that exists. There, you can like place buildings and do all this stuff, and I don't know, I mean, I don't know why I missed it.
Well, yeah, I mean, did you guys even use the editors in any of the recent Far Cries? No, I haven't either. And I think maybe Ubisoft was aware that it was an underutilized feature that was kind of like a little bit
So they
off
put
to the
pirates
side.
in it, and now we're all.
But they're going crazy with it now.
That's the thing, is that the editor is still included, and we will no longer be limited to assets just from Far Cry 5. You can use assets from other Ubisoft properties. Like,
Well, and there's like you can basically make mini games with those.
Yeah.
It's more structured. I think it's like like one thing will be like just get from this area to this area. But if you can build this crazy obstacle course with every part from these games,
It's
then
completely insane. You can drop in the hippos from Assassin's Creed and drop in the guns from I don't know. I don't know if it's got Splinter Cell stuff in it.
no,
but,
it's not Splinter Cell. It is Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Unity, Watch Dogs, but just the first Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
Not Watch Dogs 2. And then Far Cry's 4, Primal, and of course 5.
That's absolutely.
So
wild.
you can have like the saber-tooth tigers from
cave bears.
Primal and the cave bears. Yeah.
Yetis.
There's
Well.
Yetis. Mm-hmm. Are there?
Yeah.
There's some.
Martian
There's like
arachnids.
woolly mammoths.
Yeah.
Gonna be in there too.
Oh,
It's
boy.
insanity.
That's the
Or it's going to
best.
be.
Yeah.
I love me.
That's what I think.
Mastodons.
I feel like we need to give like this weekend or something. We should re-promote our preview of Arcade because it was like, oh, Far Cry 5 Arcade is crazy. It was like our headline or something like that. And I'm like, if you didn't understand like the context for like what this is and how wild it is, like you wouldn't even know. Like,
Yeah. So then you can use all these assets to build sort of bite-sized experiences that you get to share with the community. They can be either single-player, cooperative, or up to 12-player PvP maps, skirmishes. I don't know. It sounds awesome. Like it's like I was already on board with Far Cry 5, but now this is just an added incentive.
I gotta say, I've been given tools to make video games several times before, and
Yeah.
I never use them.
But it's
Yeah.
nice to like see what the community's doing and hop
That's what
in
I
and
use it
do
for,
that.
is
Yeah,
playing other
Playing.
people's
That's what I
Yeah.
did mostly with Mario Maker.
exactly.
I didn't-
Yeah,
Or Little
I didn't
Big
touch
Planet.
the editor, but I did
Yeah.
play like everybody else's levels that were
And
super
Nintendo
popular.
would make them too, and I was like, well, they know what they're doing, and that's what I look forward to. Because like I know at the preview event they played like basically a horror game
Yeah.
that was like get through this mansion, you know, and it had traps and stuff, and you know, I'm kind of interested to see what Ubisoft does with that more than I am what people do with it.
That's when you see. I mean, not that people at home can't have incredible ideas, and it's nice to have tools that let them realize them. But tools like this show you why game design is an actual skill and
Totally.
discipline that can
Sure.
be developed over time. Where everyone has access to the same tools, but then the professionals come up with these amazing, original, you know, ridiculous ideas, and then the guy at home is just like, you know, janky and kind of terrible half the time.
Yeah. So like the Far Cry series has the outposts, which is kind of my favorite part of the game. It's so much like
Metal Gear or something.
Phantom Pain.
Infiltration.
Yeah, you know, survey an outpost, gather your intel, and then infiltrate it. You can either try to be stealthy or just go in guns blazing. Like those instances are kind of my favorite part of the game, and that you'll be able to build those using assets from all these other different Ubisoft properties.
Great, just 100 more outposts, never-ending outposts.
Yeah, I've always said if they just made Far Cry Outposts, I'd play that game. That'd be a good one. Oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I don't know. I lost my.
Well, and I think the map editor was a little bit hidden in previous games, which is maybe why I never even noticed it. Now it's actually built into the campaign. You can just walk up to an arcade cabinet within the town. What is it, Hope County?
I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The problem in a lot of these games, not all of them, is the curation, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
here are 10,000 levels and ideas. And like, sometimes it's sort of half-hearted, you know, sorting or voting up or editor's choice. But like, that's like a non-trivial detail. Like, you have to put the best stuff in front of people and have mechanisms to surface the best things. That was why I could never get into Little Big Planet, is they didn't go far enough and like just give me a curated list of like 10 or 20 things that I have to experience this week.
Or if
And-
somebody you know liked it, that you could find it easily.
Yeah.
In a way, it can be exciting because, like, you know, you'll have the top level stuff, the stuff that everyone's playing, but then like a month down the line, you're like, wait, this thing was created like weeks ago, and I had no idea. And like, it's creating like this situation where the shelf life of the game is just more extended because of that, which is cool.
So Sam, do you realize while you're playing Far Cry 5, there's going to be arcade cabinets around the town, and you
Yeah.
just walk up to one, and that's how you
cool.
access this arcade.
Yeah.
And it's just pretty cool. It has its own progression system too, where you earn money and skill points that you use in Far Cry 5's story mode.
But you can't cheat, allegedly.
No, yeah. Hopefully it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just create a level where you get a bunch of money.
Oh, that's
Hopefully they
clever.
put plans.
Oh man.
Because you know that's the first thing people are going to try to do.
It's always the thing where like, you know, one level unlocks all the achievements or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
That's so smart. I think Little Big Planet had stuff like this. Like go in there and you just do this one move over and over again because it let you.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Exploitation, yay.
I like that always.
They fixed that Mario Odyssey glitch. The exploit.
No.
It's really good.
If you guys didn't know, Damon cheated.
Yeah.
Real bad.
Oh, I cheated hardcore.
Super Mario Odyssey. He beat the last level. He just skipped it by floating through space as a little froggy.
Yeah. It was great.
It was possible at the time. Now it's not. It's been patched.
I also think it's cool, you know, so Far Cry 5 set in Hope County, Montana. The whole campaign's there. But then adding all these assets from these other games totally switches up the setting of the game. And
Yeah, to get existential about it for a second, like a lot of times I like to think about games as like these meaningful experiences, stuff that gets me thinking, but then I'm like, wait a minute, video games are also wacky and fun.
Yeah.
And we can just like mess around in a situation where it's like makes absolutely no sense that there are alien, like Martian arachnids hanging out and that I'm fighting.
yeah.
I think Far Cry tries to walk that line,
gonna
and,
say.
and it's not good at the serious stuff. Like sometimes it's tried to add stories with like kind of deeper themes, and I don't think it's very good at that. That's why I like the Blood Dragon stuff a lot more.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, there's definitely a precedent in the series for that kind of thing, so it's a really good fit.
Yeah. Although, what were you going to say?
I was just going to Far Cry 5 in particular does kind of seem to be trying to have its cake and eat it too by being crazy and over the top, but also, I don't know, they need to make up their mind about whether are they making a statement about America or are they just making a silly game.
Yeah.
Like,
they say they're not, but
yeah, it does look like a lot of fun to play, so I'm not going to
Do you know?
ding it too hard.
Will the DLC be this? Is it going to be part of arcade? Like
well, there. You know that with the season pass, there's these 3 different sort of mini campaigns. One's with aliens, one's with zombies, one's in Vietnam, I think.
What?
Yep.
I have not seen any of
That's
that.
another thing.
and they're all Blood Dragon, right?
They're not Blood Dragon. They're not like branded Blood Dragon.
Oh, I thought they were for some reason, or like the Vietnam one was, or something like that.
I don't think so.
Anyway, like
Yeah, that's what the season pass is. The additional content is these other scenarios with aliens, zombies, and
I have some reading up to do.
Vietnam.
I don't know what day that broke. I completely missed it.
That was a while back. Yeah. Anyway, Far Cry 5 is out pretty soon, March 27th. I'm into it. Anyone else into it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's nothing else to play. You have to
This
be
one?
into it. Be into it.
Well, you have 1 month from then until God of War is out, I guess.
Yeah.
then
Well,
it's
no,
Sea
it
of
is
Thieves is
Sea of
right
Thieves and
Sea of Thieves
and Ni no
is then
Kuni
too.
2 are actually at that same time. And then what's the co-op game? Way
A Way Out?
Way Out.
Oh, wait.
Yes, yeah.
That one is only supposed to be about 5 hours or so, right? So,
MLB
so
The
short.
Show. I know you're
The
a
Show.
massive fan of
Eh?
the show.
Yeah.
It's a good baseball game.
I'm sure it is.
I'm sure baseball games are fun to play.
For people
RBI
who like-
baseball,
I'll try anything. Yeah, RBI baseball is
I
fun.
like the one where you played as a robot on the NES.
Base Wars.
Base Wars, yeah.
All right, moving on. Monster Hunter World has had a very impressive debut. Capcom says that since it has shipped 7.5 million copies of Monster Hunter World, it is its best-selling game ever in the company's history. 38 years. But Sam doth protest.
Well,
at that
I think
claim.
when you said that to me, this has happened before. We talked about this with Capcom numbers before. I can't remember what it was. But we on GameScoop,
Yeah.
we went over the Monster Hunter sales, and they claimed it was like their best-selling
I
series.
thought it was Resident Evil.
Yeah, well, whatever the
maybe right.
context was, like I don't believe it. I don't because I know Street Fighter 2 has sold more copies than that.
Street Fighter 2 has sold at least 14 million copies, but that's including like Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
All right, so the conversation's over.
Okay.
I guess so. The idea there is that Turbo and Championship Edition and all this other stuff are like games that have one or two more characters in them. But I think today, generally, nobody would know if you said Street Fighter 2 which version you mean or which one you're talking about. In the office here, when everybody is obsessed with video games history and stuff, they'll say like only Turbo or something like that. But like the general public, they don't care which Street Fighter 2 they're playing. That's all Street Fighter 2. You know?
Okay.
And so I don't see what the difference is with adding all those up.
Well, would you at least agree that if Street Fighter 2 has sold 14 million copies over, however, 25 years, 30 years, and Monster Hunter World sells half that in a month,
Yeah.
and some change.
It's definitely impressive, although I'm pretty sure that Street Fighter 2, again, sold exactly that amount in that same amount of period,
Yeah.
or in the same period when it came out, too.
Did they give any qualifications, like within a timeline or like 2018?
No,
Well,
Capcom is calling
Then
it.
it would.
There is a
best-selling
big qualification
time.
there. They're giving us shipped numbers, not sold numbers.
Yeah.
So that's different, too.
There's always that.
There is that, although, of course, they're not going to ship more copies than they think they can sell. So if we're giving them the benefit
Yeah,
of
the
doubt.
backstory behind that is that companies ship games to stores and then we buy them. So there's two different numbers, right? The amount they ship out and the amount they buy. It sounds like it would be the same, but there's actually buybacks. It's really strange.
If they don't sell,
Yeah, if a game just, like honestly, I bet Battlefront 2 is a scenario in which a lot more Battlefronts were probably made than people, than they sold because there was a lot of backlash. And we saw the sales numbers when it came out. They're a little bit low. So that means that if, they can either stay on store shelves or they can be bought back they can make a little bit of the money back for their purchase by selling them back to EA.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then I think the last time we were talking about this, it's because Resident Evil 5, Capcom was saying that was its best-selling game ever.
That's what I was gonna. That was where I was going with this. Is surely a Resident Evil game sold more than 7.5 million copies?
It doesn't.
I am suspicious.
Yeah, well, then you think about
if it
across
had-
all the HD versions of Resident Evil 4, for instance, stuff like that. I don't know. It's just surprising. And I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, like, this is a big launch for a worldwide. I mean, it was like
Yeah.
a worldwide one-day launch, too, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean.
Which is important.
To get over sort of the semantic argument. Yeah, it's really wonderful to see Monster Hunter be bigger than ever and so many new people enjoying it. It's not the franchise for me, but I'm actually fascinated and curious by, I don't know, like something like Pokemon that continues to manage to reinvent itself and sort of have new life. And, good for them. And a company like Capcom that's sort of had a few weird years, they seem to have definitely bounced back with Resident Evil 7 and now Monster Hunter.
Yeah, although they still stumble every now and then. Like I think Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite last summer was maybe a little bit of a stumble for them. I don't know. It's interesting. The way that Capcom reports their numbers is interesting because like with Monster Hunter World, they're including sales of the PS4 and Xbox One versions. But then that Street Fighter 2 number that they report is just the SNES version of Street Fighter 2, like not the Genesis version.
And you looked up the Genesis numbers. That's what.
Yeah, they were much lower, but still, they're the same game, right?
Well, Street Fighter 2 had a big lead on Genesis, and then Genesis had like a championship edition that was
Yeah,
different.
that's one I had. Did you try calling Mr. Capcom?
I did, and
Captain Commando.
Captain Commando was just out to lunch, so I left a
Just
message.
missed him.
I left a
Washing his
message.
hair.
Yeah. Anyway, it's interesting, but regardless, I think Monster Hunter World has definitely been a huge success.
Absolutely.
if you had asked me, whatever, 3 months ago, if Monster Hunter World would be Capcom's best-selling game ever, right out the gate, I would have found that hard to believe. Moving on, also this week, one of my favorite games of the past few years, Inside, is getting a special edition. The special edition is announced like 2 years after the game was out. The special edition will not be released until early next year, which would be almost 3 years for the game. And the circumstances around this special edition are special indeed. It's being put together by I Am 8-Bit, which is, of course, well-known, like special edition
Yeah, they make
curator.
a lot of video game soundtracks. They press them to vinyl, which is really cool. And they do a bunch of the limited edition. Like they did the Street Fighter 2
The
SNES
glow-in-the-dark.
cartridge that
Yeah.
just came out, which is super cool.
Yeah. So it's I Am 8-Bit, and then they've partnered with a company called Real Doll. And if you are at work right now, don't Google what Real Doll is. But Real Doll is a company that claims to make very hyper-realistic sex dolls.
Which could be good for making a statue that could live in one of those games without spoiling it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know how spoilery we want to get with. All right, what do we think they're up to here?
Well, so, yeah, I think I have a pretty good guess what this may be, but just so you guys, listeners know, if you haven't played Inside yet, we're going to talk a little bit about a big revelation towards the end of the game for just a moment. So, fair warning. But, of course, so we've all beaten Inside, right? We all know what happens there.
Wait, do we know that it's Inside and not... What's the other game that's in it? Is
Well,
it,
Limbo,
Limbo's
but they're calling it the Inside Special Edition.
It's in- okay.
It comes with a Steam code for Limbo.
Plus, what else could it be?
No, yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So inside the box,
Inside the inside box.
we know there's a PS4 disc for Inside, Steam codes for Inside and Limbo, and then they will not tell us. They will not tell people what else is there.
Did we mention it's $375?
$375, and they're specifically saying
boy.
we will not tell you what's inside the box.
Yeah.
And this company makes real life-size dolls. So
Yeah.
maybe we get a giant life-size, what do they call it? The huddle?
The
There's
Huddle?
a name?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
yeah.
know that.
Oh,
The
that's
Yeah,
Huddle.
it's called the huddle.
Oh, I haven't heard that. Okay, yeah, but you're talking about the meat.
It's a pretty cute name for
Isn't
what it
it?
is.
Yeah, because it kind of is a huddle.
Yeah, it's
a
like
bunch
a
of
big,
people.
Yeah, it totally is.
a
Huddle up.
meaty mass of limbs.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've been kind of beating around the bush. That's our best guess.
Yeah.
Is what would a real doll someone be making? And we think it's probably, I didn't know it was called the Huddle, but
Yeah.
the big meat pile from the end of Inside. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Who wants that in their house? Like, who has the space for that?
Yeah, I don't. So we don't know
and
exactly
how big is it?
We don't know how big it is, but
I
they
assume
have.
life size.
I
mean, if it's
mean,
from this company, like
the
that's their
life size would
specialty,
be-
right? Yeah, it's
it gonna weigh-
$375.
Is it going to weigh like 100 pounds?
Well, they've already said this. They've warned people that shipping costs may be high because this is going to be a weighty. Yeah.
It's definitely some life size thing.
Oh,
can't-
boy.
If it's life size,
it's
it
life
has
size-
to be like a wedge.
That is going to be horrifying. Like
Yes.
the realistic skin and
Yep.
like just meat texture and oh boy.
We got to get one in for review. It's just us poking it over and over.
I on the Daily Show last night, they went to the what's it called, Real Doll headquarters
On the Daily Show.
on the Daily Show. Yeah, and it looks just like Westworld. It's like just walls and walls of hands.
Oh my gosh. So creepy.
Like they didn't show anything like
Yeah.
especially explicit, but you can tell like if you went there and you thought like, oh, I need to make an Inside monster. You could probably just like go with the shopping cart and just like put all this stuff in and just melt it and you'd be done.
Probably a pretty good point. They'll just take their rejected parts
Yeah,
that
their
didn't
rejected
work one way or another and sort of glom them together. And
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
Well, there's a bit of a science to it. I went to their GDC talk last year, and they were talking about how there's actually an optimal amount of limbs and like which limbs they incorporated just to get the physics of the thing, like rolling in an appropriate way.
Because it pushes itself, right?
Yeah.
It can't like
Yeah.
snap a limb every time it moves.
Yeah.
So like they actually thought that out. Mm-hmm. So gross.
Do you think they'll fit it with a speaker so you get the like creepy
moaning,
moans?
yeah. Well, I
Does it-
wonder.
I was wondering, it doesn't make. I remember the game ending, but it does make noise the
Yeah.
whole time.
Yeah. Like
Maybe
moans
if you
and
roll
groans.
the thing, that's when it starts to moan. I don't want this. Who wants this?
That's the thing.
like
Maybe
you
it
could
has
be-
Siri built into it.
You could think Inside's your favorite game and still not want this in
Yep.
your
That's
house.
me.
I
That's
loved
me.
Inside, yeah.
But no.
No.
First, you have to be a special kind of fan to be willing to spend $375 for something you don't even know what it is. But even if it does turn out to be this, you have to be even more special to want that, I think.
I think you have to be an investor because this is the type of thing that makes for a collectible.
Yeah.
Nobody wants it. It's too expensive. It's for a game everybody loves. That is the perfect situation to have something to hold on to for 10 years.
It's a perfect
and have it
storm.
be worth a lot of money.
Or like if you want
nothing.
nightmares the rest of
Or
your
nothing.
life.
It could also be worth nothing.
It'll be-
It definitely is worth nightmares.
They're probably going to make like 100 of them, right? And it's just to get headlines and websites like IGN and get GameScoop to talk about it, right?
It's definitely going to be a limited edition thing
like,
at
yeah,
375.
extremely limited, I
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked Ryan McCaffrey's crazy theory where this is all a publicity stunt to unveil its next game. Like, so they do ship
while.
this game early next year with this crazy thing in the box, and then also in the box is their next game. It's available now.
I could totally
like
see it
that
being
idea.
a fake out because it's sort of an obvious like answer that it would be this weird, creepy life size thing, but at the same time, why would they do that
Yeah.
realistically? So I could totally see it being a fake out in the end.
The thing that stands out to me is that there's every special edition comes with a statue in it. They all have these like crazy things. They're like complicated. Like they did this partnership for either a practical reason or for a marketing reason. Yeah. Right. And the marketing reason seems to have worked really well.
Yeah. Except this, I feel like the game's sales life has got to be near an end. It's almost 2 years old. It's on several platforms. Like who out there is still like waiting to buy this game?
Yeah.
Everyone who read that headline.
I guess so. Yeah.
ThinkGeek always does April Fool's jokes, and then the most popular ones they turn into real things, like the Tauntaun sleeping bag.
Yeah.
So it strikes me maybe like something like that. Maybe they're like, oh well, now this has been written up on every website under the sun. They're a little bit more jazzed about the idea than they were when they floated it.
Maybe someone pulled the April Fool's trigger a little too early and like, oh, guess
now
we
we're-
got to stick to this.
Now we're committed. Well, the contents of the special edition will be revealed once the product ships, which is estimated to be in Q1 of 2019. So hopefully a year from now, we'll know what this thing is.
Ryan got permission from Pear to buy one,
There you go.
so
They go live. Pre-orders go live tomorrow morning, Thursday, March 8th at 7 a.m. Pacific. So if Ryan's not up at 7 a.m., he may miss out. Depending on how popular this thing's going to be. I don't know. We'll see.
I've spent $375 on way dumber stuff. So
Way dumber stuff. I want an example.
Is it a board game?
I've never spent that much on a single board game.
Last week,
Think about it.
Tina, Justin was telling us about he recently spent $150
130.
on a board game that he's been playing religiously every night by himself.
Was it worth it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well,
it's
then
my-
that's
it's my
fine.
birthday present to myself.
Aw.
I'm not gonna let anybody bring me down. Tom bought one.
Maybe it's someone's birthday tomorrow and they want to buy themselves.
I've gotten more tweets about that board game than like almost anything we discuss on this show. Gloomhaven, man, it's the business.
Shade.
Time to start Board Game Scoop. All right, let's check in with listeners.
Hey, listeners.
Listeners, remember you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com. Just like, well, he says, I've been a weekly listener for over a year now. My name is Vince. My friends call me V, like the letter, and you can too. I just turned 20, and I've been an avid Nintendo and PC gamer for most of my life. I always gravitated towards RPGs. Over the past 2 years, I started digging into the archives of the RPG genre and catching myself up on the classics. Earthbound, Legend of Zelda, a little bit controversial to call that a RPG, Chrono Trigger, and various Dragon Quests and Final Fantasies. Reaching back into this era has left me eager to dive into a genre that has always eluded me, the 2D platformer. When it comes to these games, I've always been below average. I was hoping the counselors over at Camp Goose could recommend games for a crash course to develop anything resembling skills in this vital slice of the gaming world.
Camp Goose is an anagram for Game Scoop.
Just like the Omega Cops.
Mega
What was
Cops
the
as well.
board game scoop one that someone sent through? I've already forgotten it.
Co-op games.
I don't remember. It was really good.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, he's looking for games that will help him hone his skills in 2D platforming.
Interesting.
Skills. You don't need to have skills to be a good platformer.
Well, he says he's below average. He struggles with them.
Honestly, you just need patience.
With my SNES Classic, I'm playing Mario World, playing some stuff like that, and I'm horrible at it now, and I don't know if I've just gotten worse or if it's because of my TV.
Bad at Mario World. So you don't think like the Mario games just in general are good
think-
teachers of platformers?
I think they teach you how to play the game by the very nature of what they are. If they're good games, then by the end of it, you'll be good at that game.
I mean,
They do scale really well at the very least, yeah.
I'm always a little tripped up by people being like, what order should I, read this fantasy series or, watch Star Wars? I'm like, watch them in the order they came out. Like, play the games in the order they came out. Like, start with Mario 1, work your way up to Mario World, and then, New Super Mario Brothers. Like, that would be my advice.
Yeah.
You'll be really good at all games if you can beat Super Mario Bros. 1. That game's actually really hard.
World 8's hard, yeah. You can get to World 8.
You can warp to World 8.
And then you
And then 8.2 is just super difficult.
8.2 is tough.
8.3 is really hard. 8.4 sucks.
Sucks.
Yeah, it's just a terrible maze.
the maze.
Maze?
I don't know that I've ever beaten Mario 1 because I haven't
It's
played
totally
it in probably
possible.
15 years.
Yeah, I mean, when Game Genie came out, right when
Yeah.
people
Yeah, that's
really
true.
needed it.
I've been to 8.4 and then the maze. I was a kid and I just gave up.
I was wondering about things like Spelunky and Rogue Legacy. Because they're roguelikes, they're designed to be played over and over and over again. You start a run, you make it as far as you can, you die, and then you go back to the beginning and start over. So I wonder if just like getting that practice in.
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be good.
Yeah, good.
As someone who likes the genre, but I have very, very, very little patience for because that's what you need. Like you're just like trying and dying and trying and dying. That's sort of what platformers are ultimately. So as someone who would like to be better at them, I find ones that have like other aspects to it that you can enjoy. So something with a little bit more humor, something that's lighter, something that has co-op. So like a Rayman Origins is super fun to play with another friend. So it's kind of distracting in that sense. You could troll one another, and so it's a little bit easier to get into. I loved playing like Battle Block Theater with friends too because it's comical and there are cats involved.
There's cats involved?
There's cats involved.
Yeah.
Scoop.
I think I reviewed that game and I think I underrated it.
You reviewed Battle Block Theater?
It might have been the last game I reviewed.
You didn't like it?
I mean, I gave it like a 7 or something, but in hindsight, I think it's like actually really good, very good.
You also reviewed Hearthstone.
I did.
That may have been the last game. I can't remember when Battle Block came out.
Yeah.
What about something like Limbo?
Yeah.
Because that's like
That's very
Sure.
easy.
It doesn't Limbo.
short.
A bit more
and
cinematic.
short.
yeah, it's like there's a lot.
For me,
Yeah.
that's more of like clambery than platforming. You don't like
What?
jump from platform to platform.
Well, I think in the
You
later.
crawl around a
Yeah.
lot and figure out. You
Yeah.
can't really find where to go, so you're just kind of like probing the edges of the level a lot
And, like,
doing
yeah.
weight puzzles.
Or something with a little bit more puzzles too, like Fez, just to think back to that game too.
Fez
It's
is
like
good.
and
is
you have
so
the whole
great.
visual element, so it's the turning around aspect adds a complication that's not necessarily the platforms that are really hard to get.
I mean, I would
That
almost
diversifies it.
Yeah.
something that's like even though it's a really hard game, like Meat Boy with its instant restart and the levels are fairly short.
And
like,
Celeste is the same way.
yeah.
The instant restart's really nice to like think about, if you really did want to hone your skills. But if you're just interested in platformers, like, some of them you don't die in, so it's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Or you can rewind time, like Braid.
Braid, yeah.
Great, yeah.
Or how about Mark and the Ninja with some stealth
Oh,
action?
I love
Yeah.
Mark and the Ninja. That's a great one. Yeah, I don't know if I consider it a platform as much as it's a stealth
Yeah.
action game, but it's definitely 2D and lots of running and jumping for sure.
Lots of
We
Ninja.
it eventually got too hard for my wife, but she really enjoyed N plus.
N plus is
and
cool.
N plus plus I think has like 900 levels or something like that.
Yeah,
so
it's
it's sort of like
insane.
you can play up to whatever. Like okay, like it's too hard for
Had
me now,
enough.
but I've had my fill.
And then once you get used to every platformer and you think they're great, then play Bionic Commando and they take away your jump button.
What about Bionic
and you
Commando?
can only swing.
Bionic Commando
Really
Rearmed.
great. Yeah, Rearmed is the one to play.
Yeah.
Although I think Bionic Commando
Modern
holds up
remake.
really well. You just sit there mashing your jump button
Yeah.
at the edge of something. You're like, ah. You
I'm
can't
surprised. I'm surprised you didn't suggest Adventure Island 2.
jump. We talked about Adventure Island.
It's implied.
It's assumed that they know they should play Adventure Island 2. All right, this is Aaron Quinn. He has an issue with the gaming audience in general. He says, I notice that more and more articles and people refer to the games you get with Xbox Live, Games with Gold, or PS Plus as free games monthly. Have people forgotten what free means? If I tell my friend he would get 4 to 6 free games a month if he has PS Plus or Gold, wouldn't said friend expect actual free games? If you ever stop paying for the sub, the games are gone. How is that free? Isn't that false advertising? You're merely renting a game. Shouldn't they be called games included with your subscription rather than free?
Free games with gold is how we state it here.
I think Aaron
You're
makes a good
paying
point.
for gold for other stuff.
Yeah, I think he's
Yeah,
technically.
you're absolutely right. Yeah,
Well,
you're
false advertising would like lean into legal terms, and so in that sense, because they're just like wording loopholes, it's not false advertising, but it's totally misleading in that sense.
Yeah, and I don't know. Are we sure that Sony and Microsoft actually use the term free, or is that just something that we do?
I think we do.
I think we do.
Yeah, probably for legal reasons, they're careful not to use the term free. But
For me, I just consider, the $50. Is it 50 for each? Whatever. I mean, the $50 or so dollars you pay for each service is just not that it's nothing.
no,
but it's
I don't think about it. So
yeah, like I'm already kind of paying for it, and it's never crossed my mind to not pay for it or stop paying for it. So I absolutely take a shortcut in my mind to consider those games free. Like I don't know, people talk about the free movies you get on like, with Amazon Prime or whatever, but like you're still paying for Amazon Prime.
That's a really good analogy because you pay for Amazon Prime for shipping discounts, mainly probably.
Yeah.
And we used to all pay for Xbox Live because it was the only way to play on Xbox Live.
Yeah.
But PlayStation was never that way. It always had free online service. So it's kind of weird
until this generation.
Well, that's what started this whole thing is they softened the blow of, hey, you're going to have to pay for PS Plus now, but hey, we're going to give you free games. And then Microsoft jumped on board too.
Yeah, so technically you're paying for the subscription service that comes along with these free games.
for the server online gameplay, right?
Yeah.
So like they are additive, but they're definitely not free.
Yeah.
Totally adds up.
Yeah. It ends up being a good deal. But you're right, Aaron. And I when I'm like talking about this month's PlayStation Plus games, I try not to call them free games. Might mess up every now and then. All right, finally, this is Dylan Barber from Gulf Breeze, Florida.
Well, actually, I have a plug.
Okay.
Whoa.
If you want to see the total value of those games, we actually keep a running tally. It's called, if you just search Xbox games with gold versus PSN games, just put versus in there, you'll find our page on it. It's a wiki page. But it compares in columns like how much each of those games are worth per month. And then we tally them up yearly, and so you can actually see how much the value of those games are versus the...
So does it have the lifetime value of each service?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dylan Barber from Gulf Breeze, Florida. He says, longtime listener, first time writing in. I've been a gamer my whole life, beginning with the NES, never put it down. I grew up mainly playing sports games and platformers, so I was never exposed to RPGs. I discovered how incredible they were when I picked up Persona 4 Golden on the Vita a few years back. Couldn't get enough. I decided to stick with the developer of the game I loved, Atlas, so I bought some more of their games. I loved all of them, so I decided to start the huge task of collecting every game Atlas has published in North America.
Oh, boy.
After over 3 years, I finished the 270-plus game set last week, getting Amazing Tater on Game Boy.
That's really cool.
sequel to Quirk.
Oh, nice. Quirk is a tomato.
Yeah.
So Amazing Tater is the potato sequel.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know.
He says it's not a cheap cartridge. I included pictures of the set for your viewing pleasure. I can share them with you, Sam.
That's
if you're
awesome.
interested. So here's a question for you. If you could have a complete library of any game company, developer, or publisher, which would you choose? Keep up the awesome work.
I thought about this long and hard before the show.
All right.
I didn't give it any thought at all.
But I don't need to start.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
For me, I mean, it's absolutely Nintendo. But I'll keep it from not being boring by saying they made toys going back years and years and years, and I'm really into those. And I think it's super cool. I've actually done a video with Chris Kohler from Kotaku and Wired on his collection of these older games, and he has some cool ones. He brought in like a little Nintendo-branded roulette toy that they would give out in Las Vegas to kids.
Here you go, kid.
Everything seems cool about that. They made dolls that look just like they could be in the 60s.
Real dolls.
No, they made little dolls that look like they could be in Animal Crossing today. Like they kept these designs over the years, and I just think that's really neat. But video game wise, like obviously, like their library is really interesting, and I love all the games, and I actually actively work towards completing that library. It will never happen.
I was going to say Nintendo too, just because like they have such a storied history, which I guess a lot of the publishers do. But they also have like the really big, like fantastic, long shelf life experiences. But then like the wacky, random, experimental stuff,
Which we all forget about so much. I bet there's such cool little one-offs that would be so fun to find.
Exactly. So Nintendo feels like a good one to mine. Like you might get the most value for your entire category.
I have one game I'm missing on Virtual Boy.
Only one? Which one?
Only one. Nestor's Funky Bowling. If you have a lead, let me know.
It's Nestor from like Howard and Nestor?
Yes, it is.
Nestor's actually in the game? Does he
He's
make an
in the
appearance?
game.
Is that
It's
going to be
about
the only
bowling.
game he appears in, right?
As far as I know.
That's interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah. Nestor's Funky Bowling. It's rare. I even have the Japanese games.
We should set up a tip line for people
for
to know
this
how to.
But we should not set up the Virtual Boy.
No.
No. Goodness gracious, no. Why would we do that?
I would go with Treasure.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Explain.
One of the most preeminent developers of action games and shoot 'em ups in the 90s. Starting on the Genesis, I think, with like Gunstar Heroes, Dynamite Heady. They did Ikaruga and Radiant Silvergun, the top-down shooters. Bongo on Dreamcast. They're just like really excellent action, like run and gun and shoot 'em up games.
Do they have some rarities too that are hard to...
Yeah, I think so. Well, they did a Ronald McDonald game on Genesis.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
On Genesis?
Yeah, and then
I have a McDonald's game for NES called Mick Kids.
They did a Tiny Toons game on the
Kids is good.
PS2
MC Kids.
as well. Their last game was in 2014. Something on 3DS that I don't even think was released here. So I'm not sure. But
Have you seen that Tiny Toons game for PS2?
Is Treasure
It's
still
kind of
around?
interesting.
They're still, like, according to their Wikipedia page, they're still in business. But like, again, they haven't put anything out in several years.
I'm sad.
I know. It's like, what are they working on? They did Sin and Punishment, back in the day on N64, and then
that got re-released.
the new one that on the Wii, which is really good, on the on-rail shooter. Treasure. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, so like you two, the answer would be Nintendo. Except, like, I can't think of any Nintendo game like I have them all. You know,
You have
like
all of
I all the ones that are important to me or that I care about. I don't feel like there's any that are particularly rare that are out of my reach that I wish I could play but haven't already bought 3 or 4 times.
What about like Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land?
Yeah, sure.
Or
of
Shigeru
course.
Miyamoto's unreleased game here, Demon World.
Yeah, that's implied.
There's tons of stuff.
No, I'm not saying there's not really cool like deep cuts in Nintendo's library, but you know they're generally pretty good. You know, Virtual Console in other ways, like their stuff is accessible. For pure value or just volume, you can make a case for a company like EA. You know, just going all the way back to 8-bit to modern days. They're prolific, release dozens of games every year.
Well, yeah.
I wonder who's released the most games. That's what I'm getting at.
Who's the most future-proof?
Most games, it can be skewed now because of mobile and stuff.
Yeah,
And
not
there's,
counting mobile, the console games, I would say.
But like Nintendo is older than everybody, so they've had a lot more time to build up that library.
True.
And I think they're probably up there.
But like
I
EA,
want to find that out. That's an interesting.
Activision was the
idea.
first third party. They were making Atari
Yeah.
games.
yeah, and Activision, has like annualized franchises that they put
I
out
think
every single year.
Like everyone, there's a lot of reasons to sort of hate on the Activision or EA of 2018, but like Activision also made Tony Hawk 2 and 3, like there's a lot of really, really wonderful games in both their libraries. Obviously EA has all the Mass Effects and KOTOR and everything. So I would maybe say that I would go with them instead of Nintendo. I already have the Nintendo games I want.
Nobody picked Acclaim or THQ.
I know. Can you
dang.
believe it?
They go back. Acclaim's gone now.
Oh, LGN or LJN
LJN.
would be another good one too.
They made like exclusively movie games for the
NES.
NES. Karate Kid, Friday the 13th.
Total Recall,
they do
Predator.
Gremlins?
So bad.
They probably did Gremlins, sure. Gremlins 2. I don't think there's a Gremlins 1 game
Gremlins
on
2,
NES.
yeah, that's the one.
Anyway. That brings us to Video Game 20 Questions, and our suggestion this week also comes from Dylan Barber in Gulf Breeze, Florida. And Tina, this is just regular 20 questions, except you're trying to guess a video game.
Good thing I've never played 20 questions.
Well, it's pretty simple. Yes or no questions to guess what game is in my head, and you have 20 of them. Let the questioning begin.
Okay. Does your character wear a hat?
It is unclear if your character is wearing a hat. Like, by the way the game is set up, it is unclear if you are wearing a hat.
Did that question count?
Yes.
Right.
Because it's not, I don't know, it's...
We don't have to go in order, but we generally go in those clockwise.
Okay. Well, I have been told a good question is, did it come out before 2000?
No.
Was this on the Wii generation of systems?
No.
Is this game played from a first-person perspective?
I think it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be a first-person perspective.
Why do you keep doing this to me?
I'm not
Why?
doing anything. I'm trying to
And that's why you can't see the hat.
Well, that's what I asked. So,
yeah.
so maybe it's like a God game or something where perspective is irrelevant or unclear.
Or first person game.
Well, if it was clearly first person, it would have just been a yes, right?
Did you have something
Well-
in mind that you asked the hat question?
No, I
Are we allowed
You
to
just
include
always-
this?
I ask a silly question first every time. It saved us a few times.
Wait, if you just asked if so we know you don't have a hat. What do we know so far?
You don't wear a hat.
And
It's unclear if
mainly
you wear a
first
hat.
person
It's unclear if you wear a hat.
He says that it was released after 2000 and after the Wii generation. So
Or it could have been before Wii generation. Just wasn't
yeah,
Wii
sure,
generation.
right, yeah. And then it's yes, supposedly, probably played in what Damon would consider a first person perspective.
Do you play as one character or multiple characters?
Well, please phrase that in a yes or no.
Do you play as one character?
Yes.
That's actually good to know. Is this from the Xbox One era of consoles?
Is it from the Xbox One era?
So just current generation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That really
Okay.
helps.
Yeah.
Contemporary.
We got a time down.
Was this game developed in Japan?
No.
You go. I'm stumped.
Is this a console exclusive? A
No.
platform exclusive. I didn't mean to say console.
No.
Okay. So cross platform.
Interesting.
Okay, do you play online?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I don't think so.
Man, there's all these like gray area answers.
Yeah, I
Well,
know.
it's like I don't know.
Well, everything's sort of online now.
Yeah. I don't think
Well,
there's like a
You're right,
timeline.
Tina. There's a lot of gray area answers.
I don't think you play online.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you shoot guns?
Mm,
Damon.
I don't think so. No, I'm gonna say no. That's 10.
Is it hack
10-ish. It's 10-ish.
I'm sorry. Is that
Oh, are we only allowed to do up to 10 questions?
It's
No.
No,
20
yeah.
Oh, okay,
questions,
okay.
so
Name
Oh,
the
yeah,
game
that's
right
right. That's
there.
right. Okay, so we're at 10. Is it hack and slash?
No.
Genre?
And if we think it's first person,
I don't even have.
It's supposed to be first person.
yeah, and you don't shoot, do you?
I don't think
do
it's
you,
first person in a traditional sense.
Yeah, that's fine.
So maybe it's a series that
We can
has
go-
been first person.
We can go with genres, like you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you can't see your character though. Should we just go with like strategy and stuff like that? We're not going to.
No, you can see your. Oh,
That's
you
what we
can
said
see your
last
character
week.
because it's supposed to be first person, but that suggests that it's not.
No, you can't see your character because he would know if the character had a hat.
Oh, that's right. He has it. Okay.
The hat
Deductive
question.
reasoning.
Yeah, the hat's coming back around.
The hat was important.
Does this have a realistic graphic style?
No.
Ooh,
That's good.
that is good. The very flat no. I mean, I don't know. What are stylized games that have come out this gen?
That are
That are
first
supposed to
person
be.
ish, cross platform, and maybe a strategy type game. Maybe just like an action game. We should
Well, and
probably
it's
figure
not.
that out.
We glossed over. Not made in Japan. So presumably
that's-
made in America.
That's interesting.
Could be. I mean, or Ubisoft, some French game or something.
Yeah.
And it's not console exclusive.
Right. So I'm picturing like PS4 and Xbox One or PC games. I'm not really picturing Switch games.
Should we ask if it's a strategy game?
Well, what strategy games have even come out? We can. I'm not. I know that doesn't like if he says yes, I'm like, well,
Whoops.
Is this game part of a franchise? Is it part of a series?
What? Those are two different questions.
No, it's not.
Yep.
What? Why?
I guess he's saying like, is this a licensed game versus does this have sequels? Are the two different ways to go with that?
Is this part of a video game franchise?
Yes.
That's good. That's good to have.
I'm trying to think of what bases we haven't covered.
Oh, there's so many. At least 9 questions worth.
Right.
How about? I mean, since we don't know the genre, that's going to be hard.
Should we
What
just
are
guess
some
another one?
big things we can? No, it's
What?
hard to say.
There's no guns.
You just don't
maybe.
think the genre will be helpful?
I don't know why franchise and series are different.
No, you just asked two different questions. You asked, is it part of a franchise and is it part of a series?
Yeah, I see those as synonymous.
I don't.
How about this? Is it a
I can explain
spin?
later.
Is it a spin-off?
Yes.
Okay, so that's cool because it could be like Mario versus Rabbids. Or something.
Ooh, that's really good.
So if we say the name,
not
are you
bad.
supposed to say yes or no?
Yeah, but the name has to be the final. We can't guess the game.
You
and
guessed the
right.
wrong game.
Oh, okay. So you
Game's
have to have
over.
one
One
submission.
chance to do that
Oh
big
boy.
final
All right. So let's go down the path of Mario versus Rabbids.
Well, it can't be
spin-offs.
that because it wasn't. Well, it wasn't made in Japan, but it's not on multiple platforms.
Supposed to be first person shooter. Yeah. I mean first person.
And you definitely wear a hat.
And you do shoot weapons. So
And didn't
it's
you
not
ask
that.
one about if you play as one character?
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely not that.
And what
it
was the
was
answer to
one
that?
character.
You play as one
one
character.
character.
A spin-off game
Yeah.
with a weird graphic
Boy.
style, not Japanese. That's multi-platform.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like we've learned so much and so
I know.
little at the same time.
Was this well received?
Yes.
What do you have in mind?
15.
Something in VR maybe. Like
Does that count as spin-off if it's like a VR game?
well, that's
Well,
why
like
I was,
Super Hot
Yeah.
VR would be a
that's super
spin-off.
hot, Yeah.
I mean, any of Bethesda's would be a spin-off, right?
Yeah,
I don't want to
Sky-
take us
Supposed to
down
be
that track
first
too much, but I'm just saying like there's a lot of spin-offs right now.
Skyrim VR, Doom VFR, though you shoot guns in that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I mean,
Is-
it's weird that Super Hot does fit everything. But I don't think it's that.
I think you
Just
see
saying.
yourself in a mirror in that game.
Really?
I think you clearly don't wear a hat.
Do you see like a big polygon hat?
Yeah, I think you see your polygonal self.
Plus, it can't be VR because then you are seeing in first person. He's saying it was supposed to be first person, so theoretically, it's not.
That's what's confusing is that
I'm
he
so
was
confused
he
by
was
that.
dithering about that.
Yeah.
But maybe VR is why.
Dithering.
Right. So it's
Yeah, okay,
supposed to be because it's on that platform. It's first.
Is this a VR game?
No.
Okay. That's a good way to take care of that.
There we go.
But it is risky because now we only
liked
got
it.
4 left.
All right, spin-offs of big series that are out with like weird graphics right
Spin-off Clue is so good, and I can't get there.
Man, I don't know the next one.
now. Does it matter if it's a licensed thing at this point, like if it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or not, or is
I don't
that
know
pretty
if I would
clear
help
that it's
narrow
not?
it down.
Or we can just go by development studio. You know, was this Ubisoft, something like that? What do you think?
I don't know.
We're not going to get it, so like we might just run through
Just
these,
run through
these
random
last
questions.
questions. Well received. I mean, what were your favorite games that from this generation?
I want to cover
There
my
was
own
spin-off?
bases. I'm worried about one question. And you guys are going to be mad about this. You asked, do you shoot guns, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I still stand by that. You do not shoot guns. Just want to be clear.
I don't
It's
like
Mario versus Rabbids.
that. But that's not multi-platform.
Is it?
What?
It's not
Mario
multi-platform for sure.
Yeah,
right?
the game we said no.
Yeah.
We asked. We
asked.
said is it a multi-platform game, and the answer was yes.
And Mario vs. Rabbids is definitely not on.
Yeah, it's
anything
only on the
else.
Switch.
Yeah,
But it could be XCOM.
that's not a spin-off. Though.
That's not a spin-off.
Should we just ask if it's strategy after all of this time?
Sure.
Is this a strategy game?
It's in the strategy wheelhouse.
Oh
Yes,
boy.
all
But
right.
there's a little bit more specific
So it's
genre that this fits into.
yeah. So like
Spin-off strategy game that wasn't initially a strategy game, supposed to be first person.
is there a Final Fantasy spin-off? No, those are Japanese.
Well, there was like the Dissidia fighting game.
But it's all Japanese.
Yeah.
What about Halo Wars?
Ooh, Halo Wars 2.
Spin-off strategy that fits. Supposed to be first person. You don't shoot guns.
I would absolutely vigorously argue that it's not first person, but it.
Well, supposed to be would be like would
Are
fit
you the
Halo.
commander?
Yeah, in some.
That's always the question. With
I think the conceit of Halo Wars 2 actually is that you're in a simulation, reliving and refighting battles.
really?
actually. I didn't play it, but I think so.
So it would fit with the you play as one character.
well,
But it's not multi-platform unless Damon counts PC.
yeah.
He's a
Should
sneaky
we
snake.
ask that as a question?
Was this on Xbox One?
Yes. 2 questions.
That actually makes it a little bit
Yeah.
better because not everything comes out for the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Halo Wars seems like it fits.
Yeah.
Brian Malkowitz,
Right?
what do you got for us?
And I'm also trying to come up with. We got 2
Yeah,
questions
we need
left.
a phone. We need to phone it in.
All right.
We got 2 questions
Are you
left.
sure?
I want one
Please
that
help.
helps us narrow in on Halo Wars 2, and then the last one has to be the game.
Yeah, spin-offs are like we're missing some huge spin-off. And it's because I don't know why. I don't know why we're missing it. Yeah,
I mean, you
all right.
want to narrow it down
So you wanna-
to see if it is Halo Wars. So could
Right.
we ask, like, was Master Chief part of the franchise?
Is it a sci-fi game?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is it a sci-fi game?
Yes.
Well, now I'm
One-
not. I've. Okay, is it Halo Wars 2?
Nope.
Oh!
Okay, not Halo Wars 2. Released in 2015. Came to mobile first.
FTL?
No, then it came to PC and Xbox One. It is Fallout Shelter.
Similar.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean the graphic style.
supposed to
Sim-
be first
I think it's-
person. You play as one
It's
character.
considered a sim game.
Yeah.
strategy.
Unrealistic graphic style. Yeah.
I feel like we did a good. We had a good.
yeah, I
Did we
think-
bring up
actu-
Fallout?
You mentioned
Bethesda
Bethesda
VR
like,
games.
yeah.
I said because when we were thinking about VR.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
We were
We were
close.
threading
And
around
actually,
it.
the Halo Wars 2 actually does fit a lot of the criteria
Yeah.
they were going for.
Yeah, I feel like
Maybe
that's
it
a good
was
guess.
Halo Wars 2.
You know what? Maybe you're right. Actually,
We can't trust him. Like,
David's just collating and like changing the game on the fly. as we zip around it.
like, oh no, they're getting
Always
close.
changing, yeah. Gotta swap it up. No, a valiant effort, but good suggestion. Dylan Barber from Gulf Breeze, Florida. That is all the scoops we have for this week. There's a Nintendo Direct tomorrow, which will be probably a few hours after you watch this video. And shortly after the Direct, we will have coverage of that going up with Philip and Pear, I believe. Is that right, Sam?
Yep.
We'll be breaking down all of the announcements. We know they're going to talk about Mario Tennis, Detective Pikachu, but they've got some other surprises in store for us as well. Tina, thank you so much for joining us for
Thanks for having
Gamescoop.
me.
Hopefully the first of many. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Sam. Remember, you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com. My name is Damon. This is IGN Gamescoop, and we're out.